Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, depending on the time zone you're in. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us, Josh and Yuval. It's an honor to be here in front of the illustrious panel and such a fantastic audience.
Great to have you,
Yeah.
Madhav.
Okay, thank you, Yuval. So I believe you're going to run the slide deck, and I'm going to just continue a conversation here.
Yep.
Thank you. So BLOCKnit, why do we exist? Who we are? We're here to we look at the scenarios, the problems that are evolving from day-to-day situations, and we've figured that there's an opportunity here for us to be existing. And we definitely stay focused in certain areas, and one of that is our focus through AI to solve for problems around procurement. Next slide, please. So, why BLOCKnit, the name? We obviously fiddled through some of the hoops and trials in terms of what our genesis is, how we kind of coined this name, and we obviously had this opportunity to be a business applications partner with the platform players that exist, whether it's Ethereum or the Microsoft Azure Blockchain Workbench and others. When we gotten started in 2019, there was this implied sense to get into building out blockchain applications. However, there was a shift in the pivot that happened in the COVID-19 timeframe, which just last year, where we saw the advent of the opportunities and the challenges that were plaguing the entire populations across the world with regards to supply chain, the procurement. And there was clearly a motivation to use AI, and that's why we exist. We've come up with Procure AI solution that is focused on delivering enhanced procurement outcomes, and we do that digitally. The objectives are being to create opportunities for customers and partners to be able to make data-driven decisions, to obtain higher business efficiencies and sustainable procurement through the leverage of the Procure AI tenets. And we'll talk about that in a few slides. Together with Anshul, who is my management counterpart, we are representing BLOCKnit here with minority women founders, Madhvi and Madhulika, who are not in this forum today, but they're our guide and mentors for us to be able to make an impact through this journey. Next slide, please. So problems, we looked at definitely as laser focused on the supply chain functions and procurement functions within the B2B and B2C enterprises. I figured there were dime a dozen problems that do not really get addressed through either the full suite of ERP/supply chain procurement products that exist in the market, from SAP to Ariba to others, or through the best of the breed products. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. For us, the Nirvana moment was when we did our own research. We spent a lot of time. It was almost been, what I would say, 9 months that have gone in, or maybe longer. I don't know. Anshul, my colleague, is here in the meeting as well, and he'd be around handling Q&A post the 5-minute pitch to be able to explain the rationale for our product, and definitely handle all the tech questions. Our moment of Nirvana came from a lot of this research that we did, and where we figured that there are complex challenges around handling of the private data. How do we position our risk strategies in supply chain? How do we drive some insights for our spend? There are best-of-breed products that do that for sure, but then there's no holistic solution that exists to solve all of these problems that are highlighted here in this particular slide. And of course, we are cognizant of the fact that there is a endeavor and an impact that we can drive with the sustainable procurement to help reduce corporate carbon footprint. And there's definitely a focus from our presentation, as of course, product strategy here. Next slide, please, Yuval. Macro trends that have continued to exist, and these have been around the past too, but some of them have accelerated in the last couple of years, and more so in the advent of and the aftermath of COVID-19. the increasing need for corporates and organizations around the world and the governments around the world to reduce costs, supply risks, being able to create digital transformation of their solution or their platform, and create agility in their decision making, the analytical reporting capabilities that can be extracted from different products that are out there in the market, such as Power BI and other competing products. And of course, driving the increasing spend analytics, sustainability goals, and so on and so forth. Some of them are highlighted here for your information. Moving on. So having seen the context and having understood where we wanted to play in with our product vision and product strategy and roadmap out here, we realized that there's an opportunity for us to ride the trend. And that trend is more so in the context of where the evolution is. The evolution is happening from a cost savings function, procurement function, to delivering strategic value, what procurement can provide to the organizations. With the advent of the digital technologies, and obviously there's a merger and acquisition wave that's occurring, to a one-stop AI solution. That's what we are. We are representing, Procure AI is a representative artifact of the product that would be catering to the broad theme, one dedicated solution, replacing all the multiple standalone products in the market. So we are a solution-focused IP product-based company. Moving on. Solution, and let Anshul also chime in if we have time now, or we can handle the questions subsequent to this 5-minute pitch. Essentially, our procurement solution is dedicated or focused on sustainable procurement goals for our decarbonization of contracts, cognitive procurement, supply chain optimizations, predictive income forecasting, identification, reduction of risk, and predictive market opportunities. There's a whole lot of tech dive we can do in this with regards to the solution. I think we could leave it to the Q&A part of the conversation, just because of the lack of time right now. I'll move on to the next slide, and you
30-second warning.
Core deep tech built on Microsoft Dynamics 365, Azure ML. We have been accepted at the OpenAI private beta, AI ML product procurement benchmarking through Power BI. That's the core tech stack for this product, for the solution. Next slide, please. Our projections are, we are in the pitch challenge for the Women in Cloud event that's happening on July 23rd. We're in the private beta group. Our 6-month goal is to do pilots with Azure, and in Dynamics 365, 12-month goal, general availability of the solution within 3 months of raising the required funding. There's a video here, we can play that towards the end. Next slide, please. We are here to seek fundings to the tune of 1 to 1.5 million-ish of early stage funding to finance the cost of product development, sales, marketing, and business operations. We believe we can realize the ROI of that within a 12-month to 18-month period. With the required funding, we can definitely do all those pilots, SAP, ERP, and Dynamics 365 pilots with Azure as the hosted cloud. And of course, seeking partnerships with interested corporations, initiate conversations with interested investors, and MOUs with DoD stakeholders. Thank you. Next slide. I think that's all we have to cover now, and we're open for the Q&A.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. First question here. Go ahead, Justin.
I mean, I was just going to ask, I mean, as far as core solutions, you'd mentioned kind of a long list of applications of the AI ML. What was like the main problem or value proposition, and who are your clients?
So BLOCKnit's core IP that we are pivoting to for this Procure AI solution is an end-to-end digital technology solution, which is powered by ready-to-deploy and usable AI ML products. And we're pivoting to the Azure ML stack at this stage, early stage of our journey, that use algorithms to backed by user experiences and opportunities presented by the advancements that have occurred with backend connections to the central procurement processes and environments within the enterprise or the corporates. Using Procure AI, we see an opportunity for us to bridge the procurement and legal departments and forge a link for them within their broader strategic, for the strategic objectives within the broader organization's Uber goals. Since we've seen an opportunity here exists that we have seen a lot of the MNCs and supply chain relationships getting stretched due to jurisdictions under the environmental regulations or challenges that we've seen in the recent past with regards to Suez Canal and the bottlenecks because of the COVID-19 that have occurred. I think there's an opportunity for us to leverage the tools such as Procure.ai to provide that much desired leverage for the procurement function in today's world order. Anshul, you want to chime in to that question?
Yeah, one of the use cases, Justin, would be that we have, say for the contracts, given an example, Madhu mentioned about decarbonization of contracts. When we are looking at the contracts, they go over and over, and there is a lot of, I would say, there are expertise, documentation that requires parsing by many different negotiators of the type could be lawyers or finance experts to go over multiple pages of a contracts, which can run into tens of such pages. And it takes weeks and a lot of manual effort to get passed through those negotiations, while through AI modeling, we are able to reduce that time and being more accurate and reduce this time from days and weeks to probably minutes, and address those issues right away through data and AI modeling. For reducing example is, for example, reducing carbon footprint for an organization. So that's one side of this, one use case. And there are many other different use cases. Risks, there are many risks that we are not aware of in our organization besides what is internally available. The risks with the tiered vendors, what are they doing, how they are chained. The Procure.ai solution is targeted to go over those, enable those kind of gaps to the organization on the risk challenges. Similarly, cognitive procurement for strategic sourcing. So the areas that we are targeting through Procure.ai are the ones which are actually hidden through traditional systems like ERPs and being highlighted to address the pain points which the organizations today face in the lack of data and information. I hope that answers some of your question.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I mean, and really with a lot of these pitches, AI, ML, there's not a pitch I haven't heard that doesn't have it. So what I like to find out is how it's being used and in a novel new way, and the problems it's addressing. It sounds like the first example was contract abstraction, essentially. I don't know if there's a standardization element there, or if it's just using predictive to
supervise insights. Supervise insights. So if you are looking for a clause which is very specific to, say, decarbonization of or other terms, that the key terms that you need to extract from the contract and look for a vendor, or while you are getting engaged, you need to parse that contract and look at manually and say ANA, this is available in a contract. This could be applied to spending. This could be applied to negotiations that you do through the contract with different vendors while signing them up, or doing MSAs, or onboarding through contract agreements. So supervised modeling, what your organization is looking for, create those models dynamically through integrated ERPs. We are focused on Dynamics 365 at the moment. And all the insights that are going to be available are going to be seen through that. Did I answer your question, Justin?
Yeah. So in that example, it's abstraction of key terms as
Yes.
applicable to your use case. Is there an element of like outlining the contract and condensing it to like a standard format, or is it just showing you key terms that you've decided are important to your organization?
It is not invasive in any manner to how your contract would eventually look like, but it's the part where you manually spend time to go over the contracts and give you, well, you're onboarding a vendor in an ERP, and that requires certain compliances to be taken care of. Those could be modeled through AI and be available through the Procure AI software, so that when you are, it just replaces the human element through, instead of a human looking at it, you have the contract AI looking at it and prompt you on what's the next step should be based on how you want that particular insight to look like for you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I mean, if anything, then it's.
Yeah, I mean,
it would be what are the unique, probably
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
So you said data enrichment to an extent for the risk elements that are maybe
Yes.
not internal. Just anything that's novel, new, different, especially from the data perspective, is of interest.
Correct. So
In the interest, hold on, I'm saving a little bit of time because we're a little bit over time already. It's a great conversation. I think we have to take one offline. I want to give Tina a chance to ask her question, and then I'm going to cap you at 30 seconds with your answer.
Okay.
Justin, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So you guys have plenty to talk about offline.
Yeah,
Sure.
for me, it's not a question, but I'm just gonna distill down to, I think the pitching today has some problem. Maybe I'm overly critical, but I'd like you to simplify the pitch deck and focus on, if you are gonna try to raise fund, right? Maybe you can personify this a little bit. Here is John. He is the procurement manager of company ABCD in this sector. He is using ERP, and this is the problem that he has, a headache. And then, the following 3 slides, this is your solution, how you help him solve the problem and how you differentiate from other procurement startups in the market. I think that would help a lot, because I think at the end of the pitch, I cannot, just like Justin, I cannot tell what product you're offering, how it's differentiate
Sure.
from other in the market. And so I think that's just my
No,
general
thank you.
comment. Yeah.
Thank you, Tina. No, I like that feedback, really. I think what you're pivoting to is animation illustrator.
Yeah, it's just like a real person. You're not going to solve all the problem, but
Yes.
what are you good at, and how that really make the life of the procurement manager a lot better. So I think that
Yeah,
would be
and believe me or not, we've been debating that in our own internal meetings, and we definitely want to get that animation illustration in our next pitch for sure. Thank you.